Okay. You asked a question, I'll try to give you an answer.
How'd you figure out who to tow, when to tow, and coming back? Because it seemed that there's some people who felt like it was inconsistent with what it's done and been done in previous races.
That is a fair question. I would say, first and foremost, our goal is never to put good cars out of the race. When we developed DVP, I don't know, 5 to 10 years ago, that's never been the goal. Based on our experiences last week at Kansas and looking at what happened there with the 4-car, we felt like we probably could have made a different call there. We had a good car that probably just needed tires last week. So as we went into this week, we wanted to err on the side of the competitor. Again, we don't want to put good cars out of the race. We had a situation in turn 3 where we've got 25 plus cars down there. We're not sure why they can't continue. We don't know if it's strictly because they're just in the grass, they're high-sided. So for us to make a determination that they've got some suspension damage and can't continue, that puts a lot on us that, again, we want to err on the side of the competitors. Once we got the 14 and the 9 back to pit road, they made their small repairs that they can make on pit road and went out and met minimum speed. So we felt like we made the right call there. I will say that as we've gone through next gen in DVP over the last 2 3/4 years now, I think the program has worked well. There's some efficiencies that has worked really well. Obviously, there's some things that we need to look at in the off-season, some learnings from this car and how we can better implement the DVP policy going forward.
There was also a moment where you went under red, went back to yellow, and the pace car did not move. Why did you hold the pace car?
And the way that situation worked, and we had all intentions to roll the caution vehicle as soon as we pulled the red and displayed the yellow. And the race director noticed some things that were still going on down in turn 3 where he couldn't do that. Cars were still moving. We still had safety equipment that was still moving around there. So just for the safety of all, held the caution vehicle for a little longer. Totally understand the competitors, and we had some cars on pit road that got the opportunity to do a little bit more work before those other cars could get there. So totally understand that, but that's the reason we made that decision that we did. Every circumstance is different, and we're going to do our absolute best to make the best calls with the best information that we have in front of us.
You couldn't just rethrow the red, bring the red back
I think
out?
just once you've started in that cadence, and once you've pulled the red and displayed the yellow, you want the sequence to kind of start to unfold. We weren't anticipating that to take very long. To be honest, I don't know exactly how long it did take. We're still, a couple hours after the race and dissecting all that stuff, and our team will look at it this week, and as we do every week, and digest what we did well, what we didn't do so well, what we do to get better.
So basically, you pulled the red flag because you didn't realize there were more cars down there.
Yeah, the race director, when he was looking, he felt like, okay, it's good to go. We're going to pull the red, and just play the yellow. And when he did that, he noticed there were still vehicles that were moving. So
I understand looking at the rule for next year in the off-season, but now this is something that's happened the last couple of weeks. What do you do in the sense of going forward for the rest of this season? You kind of, I want to say, made unofficial adjustments at this, but what do you have to be moving forward these last 5 races?
Yeah, I think you look at it like this was a very, the circumstance we had today in turn 3 was very unique. I mean, to have that many cars, I think it's some type of history with the amount of cars wrecked here in Talladega in one wreck. So we had 25 or whatever it was cars down there. In all honesty, the likelihood of that happening in the next 4 or 5 races, I shouldn't say that because we'll have it. But we feel like we'll gather again. We'll go back and look at it, see how we would have reacted to that differently. But as I stand here today, the way we executed that today, I felt good about the way our team did it. That don't mean there's not some things that we need to work on. But there was some really positive things today. We had our 18 different winner this year. That's one more, and that'll be tie the record with the next gen car. And also we had all the vehicles kept all 4 wheels on the ground today, and the safety and the aero pieces that we implemented this week, we were pleased with all of that. As I've said earlier to another group, that safety it's a journey, it's not a destination, so we will continue to work and develop, and anything that we can find to put on these cars to make them safer and keep on the ground, we'll do that. Still some positives, quite a few positives out of the day.
Is it frustrating that for another week the officials are part of the story again?
Yeah, I would prefer us not to be standing here talking about this. You know, I want us to be talking about Ricky's big win, talking about our playoffs. But, you know, when you're in live sporting events and you're in officiating, that's going to happen from time to time. We're going to do our absolute best to clean that up and not be in it. But that's just part of sports.
Elton, is there a possibility that if these tires can have interliners like the old tires, that it would have facilitated the cleanup today, or the cars getting around the pit road?
I think that's the hypotheticals, Deb. I mean, I appreciate the question, but the hypotheticals, I mean, the next gen car was developed around this tire, this width, this profile, and the interliners just wasn't an option. And again, we've got to continue to learn, but there's just a lot of really positives about this car, so we've got to make sure that we continue to capture that and learn from the things we need to work on.
So what
did NASCAR look at the 47? There was objections raised by some that when he was involved in the wreck, the door phone was missing.
That's news to me. That's the first I've heard of that, so I can't really comment on that because I don't know.
The very situation from last week, based on what you're saying now, it sounds like that might not happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think if you go back and look at that and with the ability and hindsight and digest it again, we felt like at the time that was the right call, based off information we had at Watkins Glen with the 12 car. We felt like that was the right call. When the 12 got to the garage, the rack and pinion was completely destroyed on the 12. When the 4 got to the garage, we basically didn't have the damage that we anticipated, and also the IDR recorder actually went off on the floor, so it was a pretty good hit there. So again, with the ability and hindsight, we look at things and learn from it, and hopefully make better decisions going forward.
So what's the policy? So before the thought was the policy is okay if you make contact and you can't get going, you're done.
Yeah.
So what's the policy now?
I think when you look at a situation like we had today, we want to err on the side of our competitors. Our goal has never been with DVP from day one to put good cars out of the race. So if situations come up where we feel like we need to make a decision that's the best for our competitors and our fans, then that's what we'll do.